An unexplained chill in the air, a whisper in an empty room, a flicker of movement from the corner of your eye. Ghost hunters and paranormal experts have dedicated their lives in tracking down evidence that there is life beyond the one that we live now. And sometimes spirits in other dimensions infiltrate our world. Even if you don't truly believe that ghosts exist, it is easy to be spooked by creaky floorboards or flickering of lights when you are alone in the dead of night. Very old buildings with chilling backstories are scattered across the country, just begging thrill seekers to come and explore. Travelers with an appetite for the spooky can go on cross-country ghost hunts or just even investigate the spirits close by. After all, haunted hotels, mansions, prisons, and bone-chilling cemeteries are located in every state. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Happy New Year. I hope you guys all had a wonderful holiday season. So today is Friday, and what do we do on Fridays? I sit down, I put on makeup, and I tell you guys some scary stuff. Today's video is going to be one of 4 videos. So we are going to talk about the scariest places in each state. And I split it into 4 videos because doing all 50 states in one video would be a really long video. And another thing that I did a little bit, well, not a little bit different, but another thing that I did was I'm only going to talk about a couple places within each state. I know each state has a ton of scary stuff and a ton of great places to explore, but I'm going to tell you guys the areas that I thought sounded really cool. I'm reading from notes that I wrote down because I can't remember all this by heart. I don't know who can. If you can, man, more power to you. I think that's awesome. Okay, in Alabama, we have the Maple Hill Cemetery in Huntsville. Established in 1818, the Maple Hill Cemetery is Huntsville's largest and oldest cemetery with more than 80,000 grave sites. The site's long-running history provides fodder for unexplained phenomena. Ghostly encounters include spectral apparitions, hearing strange noises after dark, and perhaps one of the most haunted places in the cemetery is an area known as the Dead Children's Playground. And this right here is why I picked this place, because that is scary alone. There is a playground in the middle of the cemetery. If you were to visit the cemetery and kind of head over to this playground, you might encounter the swings swinging all by themselves, which a lot of people probably could say it was the wind. I don't know if that's like super scary because swings can swing by themselves if enough wind is present. But you would also possibly see the children playing on the swing set or hear them. Now we're moving to Birmingham, Alabama, and we're going to talk about the Sloss Furnaces. It is a National Historic Landmark that is also one of the most haunted places in Alabama. Nearly a century after the plant was opened in 1882, it transformed coal and mineral oils into steel. In the early 1900s, James Slag Wormwood was a foreman of the graveyard shift, the period between sunset and sunrise, where a skeleton crew of merely 150 workers toiled to keep the furnace fed. During the summer months, temperatures throughout the plant would reach more than 120 degrees. Lack of sleep, the heat, and low visibility made working in the furnace literally a living hell. The working conditions in this furnace were terrible, and this Wormwood fella was a horrible man. Just wouldn't give them breaks, wouldn't let them take holidays. It was only you're working for this furnace and that is it. In October of 1906, James must have lost his footing and fell into the furnace and perished. Now, of course, this place is believed to be haunted by this foreman, and a lot of the stories behind it are people getting pushed, or I guess a couple workers were locked in a room and they don't remember how they even got there, and there's a whole bunch of like different little things that have happened throughout the years where people believe it is this foreman. Okay, in Arizona, there is a hotel called Hotel Monte Vista, and it's in Flagstaff, Arizona. Decades ago, this hotel, which is just off Route 66, an elderly woman stayed in room 305, and she was a long-term resident. She'd sit by her window in a rocking chair. Now the chair allegedly moves by itself. Housekeeping is constantly reporting seeing an apparition of a woman sitting in this chair and rocking in front of the window. So crazy. I think it's really creepy that her rocking chair is still in this room. Moving along to Jerome, Arizona. We're specifically going to talk about the Jerome Grand Hotel. Located in the scenic hillside of Jerome, a former gold mining hub once known as the wickedest city in the West, and today one of Arizona's coolest small towns. This hotel was formerly known as the United Verde Hospital, originally built in 1917 and again in 1926 after a mine explosion destroyed the first hotel. The Great Depression caused the hospital to take a serious downturn. By 1950, it had been abandoned completely. The hospital sat essentially dormant until it reopened as the Jerome Grand Hotel in 1996. Much of the building's original structure and facilities have been restored, and many of its spirits still linger. The specter of a maintenance man found dead in the basement in the 30s, a human-shaped figure that roams the hallways, and children who run and laugh in the corridors. There is even a spirit of a cat that will scratch the doors begging for people to let it in. In Arkansas, there is the 1886 Crescent Hotel and Spa in Eureka Springs. I don't know if I've mentioned this one already. Hopefully I'm not doing a repeat of something. This hotel is really, really cool. Crescent Hotel has embraced its spooky reputation wholeheartedly by a celebration of the many guests who checked out but have never left. Ghost tours are available for those who want a glimpse of the most famous spirits, including a stonemason who took a fatal fall while building the hotel in 1885 and a woman in white who may mysteriously appear at the foot of your bed. Moving along to the Arlington Hotel. This grand century-old hotel is a paragon of ornate luxury. 4 presidents have stayed in this hotel, plus Babe Ruth and Al Capone. Outside, the old-timey lamplights guide your walk through the downtown spring-fed spas that draw visitors to the resort town. Echoing against the stone buildings and set against a backdrop of steep, inky forests, even the bubbling fountains sound ghostly and ominous. On to California. San Francisco is the city that we're going to talk about next. It houses the Queen Anne Hotel. Ghost hunters and adventurers love this 1890 Victorian mansion. While the 3rd floor is considered a paranormal hotspot, the 4th floor has the most haunted room of all. I don't know why I get like chills talking about this stuff. You guys ever get chills when like listening to stories or even talking about them? I always do. This room on the 4th floor was once inhabited by Miss Mary Lake, who was the headmaster of the school in the building about a century ago. This Lake spirit continues to take care of guests, even tucking them in with a blanket after they fall asleep. Wonder if she's ever visited the Hawthorne Hotel, because I swear that lady who showed up in our room kind of gives me the same vibes that this one does. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check my Most Haunted Hotels video that I did in October of last year, and listen to my personal experiences about staying in the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, Massachusetts. Moving along, we're still in California, and we're going to talk about the Turnbull Canyon. This canyon offers a 4-mile hike through the sprawling Puente Hills. Keep an eye out for the sweeping city views. Of course, the ghosts. When I say ghosts as in plural, I'm talking about the 29 people who perished there in a plane crash in the 1950s, as well as a teen who found some old electroshock equipment from the canyon's burnt down asylum and fried his brain despite the site having no power. The natives call this place and I have no clue if I'm going to say this correctly, and I'm so sorry if I don't, Hutukna, or the place of the devil. Moving along to Colorado. We all know Colorado is the home of the Stanley Hotel, which I have been in and I have talked about briefly in another video, so I'm not going to mention it in this one. We are going to talk about the Cheesman Park though. It is one of the most delightful recreational areas in Denver, Colorado. A paramount spot for jogging, picnicking, and enjoying yourself. Originally, Cheesman Park was established on top of a cemetery known as Mount Prospect Graveyard. In 2010, workers digging channels for the irrigation system found 4 human skeletons. Many people who visited this place have reported frightening and ghostly experiences, with some reports of seeing many apparitions walking around the park at night. Moving along to Hotel Jerome. In addition to being a breathtaking luxury hotel in one of the most sought after mountains in the world, Hotel Jerome has particularly haunted on its resume as well. There has been a ton of staff stories regarding mischievous ghosts, especially on the 3rd floor. These ghosts like to play tricks and cause chaos. Kind of sound more like poltergeist type of ghosts, because those types of ghosts are tricksters. There is one ghost, however, that will send chills down your spine. This particular ghost is one of a little boy who drowned in the pool after shortly after arriving to the hotel with his family. And ever since, people have seen this little person soaking wet and shivering with a towel wrapped around him in the hallway, even leaving wet footprints behind, which is crazy. Like, I don't know, like that definitely would scare the crap out of me. Speaking of crazy, I look kind of crazy right now. Anyways, moving along to Connecticut. And in Connecticut, there is the Seaside Sanatorium in Waterford. This is a historic medical facility originally built to treat children with tuberculosis in the 1930s. It was also served as a home for the elderly, a medical hospital, and ultimately a psychiatric facility. So the stories that I've read talk about the abuse that patients incurred while this place was a psychiatric facility. In the 1970s, patients started passing away at high rates, and this was due to abuse and mistreatment and just horrible things being done. By 1996, the sanatorium was closed, although, you guessed it, the spirits of these patients as well as staff still linger in the facility. This one I might actually do a more in-depth story on, because it's just, there's a lot of craziness that went on there. Known as the Evergreen Inn, and later the Curtis House Inn, before reopening as the 1754 House in 2020. Gordon Ramsay once featured Connecticut's oldest inn on his appropriately titled reality show, Hotel Hell, bringing a paranormal investigator to corroborate what locals and visitors have been claiming for centuries. The place is haunted. Ramsay's unsettling difficulty exiting his room during a 5-day stay could have been due to faulty hardwire, but try telling that to the guests who reported disembodied voices, mysterious footprints, and unwelcome otherworldly bedfellows. And all of this has been throughout the 260 plus year history. Apparent entities are believed to be the former inn's owners, guests, and perhaps the most terrifying for anyone who works there, former employees who clocked in but never clocked out. Okay, so moving along. We are now moving on into Delaware. In Dover, Delaware is the governor's mansion. This building, also called Woodburn, was constructed in the 1790s and is currently the residence of the governor of Delaware. I just want to rant for 1 second. This pallet just broke on me. So the hinge at which this thing opens and shuts just broke. Like, it is broken. Cheap plastic crap is what this is. You pay a ton of money for these pallets for it to break, and I've used it twice. That is stupid. I hate that. Anyways, government officials, doctors, and well-to-do folk have called the state mansion home, and reports of ghost sightings have circulated since the early 19th century. Look out for the spirits of a young girl in a bonnet and an elderly man who enjoys drinking leftover wine. On to Fort Delaware in Delaware City. Civil War prisons were particularly unpleasant places to be incarcerated back in the 1860s, with rampant gangrene and amputations and war-induced psychosis. So this fort is haunted by all of these soldiers that were in the prison and perished. Okay, moving along to Florida, and we are going to talk about the Cuban Club in Ybor City. The lore behind Florida's circa 1917 Cuban Club is particularly grim. Stories tell of an actor who committed suicide on stage, a boy who drowned in the pool, a board member who was murdered by another board member during an argument, and dozens of other spirits supposedly haunt the property. I do want to do an in-depth one about this one too, because there's some crazy stuff that happened here as well. Moving along, we're going to talk about the Fort East Martello Museum. So this museum in Key West is the home of the Robert the Doll. And I know I talked about Robert the Doll, the haunted doll, in another video, and I will post that up here so you guys can click that link as well as put it down below as well. I'll also put my haunted hotels video down in the description as well, so you guys can just click that if you want to look at that video and hear about my personal experiences. Something that I did find in researching all of these places is some incorrect information. This Robert the Haunted Doll did not inspire Annabelle, which I know in a lot of stuff I read about Robert the Doll that it inspired Annabelle. Annabelle is an actual doll too that is haunted or possessed or something. And it is a Raggedy Ann doll. So this Raggedy Ann doll is what inspired the Annabelle movies. This doll, Robert the Haunted Doll, was a gift given to the late artist Robert Eugene Otto. As a boy, he would blame the doll for all sorts of mischief, but the whole thing morphed from a cute little Calvin and Hobbes type riff into something that was much more sinister. Some say the raggedy, weathered little sailor doll is cursed. He's reported to change facial expressions from time to time, as well as let out little giggles. If you are ever in Key West and visit the museum that this doll is encased, do not take a picture of it, because he does not like his picture being taken, and bad things have been said to happen to people who take his photo. Okay, moving on to Georgia. We are going to talk about the Kehoe House in Savannah. So despite its adult-only policy, guests at this Queen Anne style inn have reported hearing children's laughter and footfalls up and down the halls. Many suspect they're the spirits of the Kehoe family twin girls who died while playing in the chimney. Considered one of the most haunted destinations in the state, Savannah's Moon River Brewery is known for more than its craft beers. The brewery building was first a hotel, which opened in 1821, and then it served as, before serving as a hospital for victims of yellow fever during the Civil War. The restless spirits of guests and patients past still lurk, and patrons report being touched, pushed, or even slapped by invisible forces. Moving along to Hawaii, we're going to be talking about the Iolani Palace in Honolulu. Monarchs of the Kingdom of Hawaii, beginning with Kamehameha III and ending with Queen Liliuokalani, called this regal residence home. Visitors to the palace, which has been restored and opened to the public as a museum, have reported seeing the Queen's spirit animating the piano and a light in her tower where no lights are installed. Waipio Valley offers one of the most scenic overlooks on the island of Oahu. But if you visit, know that you may not be alone as the sun sets. The area is said to be haunted by a ghostly band of performers, sometimes called the Night Marchers. Locals and tourists alike report hearing chanting and the pounding of drums echoing in the night, even though there is no one else around. On to the last state we're going to discuss for this video. And first on our list of Idaho scary places is the Old Idaho Penitentiary in Boise. Some of the West's most dangerous criminals, including Idaho's Jack the Ripper, Raymond Snowden, were sent to this massive prison complex. Today, the building is open to the public for tours. Throughout the cell blocks, in solitary confinement, and the gallows, especially Five House where Snowden was executed, people have reported hearing sinister voices and noises. It may be a natural phenomenon that keeps Idaho's Shoshone ice caves frozen year-round, but the 1,000-foot lava tube is also home to the paranormal. Legend has it that the Shoshone princess Idaho is buried in the ice caves, waiting for her time to re-emerge. Staff and visitors have heard unexplained footsteps and disembodied voices while exploring the caves. That sounds pretty darn interesting. I wouldn't mind going there and visiting that. What do you guys think? So this is where we're going to end this video. We will begin with Illinois next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button and that subscribe button, as well as a little notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.